Share on Pinterest. Being horny is a natural part of human sexuality, but it can sometimes bring up unwanted feelings when you're trying to concentrate on work or something else. Feelings of sexual desire can also trigger a more distressing internal experience for some people. You might, for example, have feelings of guilt or shame if you grew up absorbing messages such as sex outside of marriage is wrong, only men and women should have sex with each other. Women who enjoy sex are sluts. None of the above statements are true, but frequent exposure to them can stick with you. When you experience sexual thoughts that go against them, you might feel bad about those feelings and want to make them go away. First, it's totally normal to think about sex. Remember those myths above? They're fairly common, so plenty of people grew up hearing and internalizing them. This kind of messaging can make thoughts about sex particularly distressing if you identify as LGBTQ+ or queer or female or unmarried. But here's the truth about sex: it's both normal and healthy, when practiced by consenting adults. Thinking about sex is also completely natural, even if you seem to do it at odd times, when you're grocery shopping, for example. It can be useful, too, since it lets you know who you're attracted to, and can help you decide when you want to have sex with someone. Of course, not everyone feels sexual desire, and that's normal and natural, too. Stereotypes don't mean much. Ideas around sexual desire and arousal are often deeply entrenched in outdated stereotypes and myths. LGBTQ+ myths. Research. Trusted source has debunked many stereotypes around LGBTQ+ folks and sexual desire, including: queer people have very high sex drives. Gay men have very high sex drives but don't want relationships. Queer people have sex obsessions. LGBTQ+ people, like everyone else, can have varying levels of interest in sex. Male versus female myths. Other stereotypes include the idea that males have higher sex drives than females. Some research does support this idea, but keep in mind, some men may think about sex more often, but this generalization doesn't hold for everyone. Very little research has explored high sexual interest in women, and a lack of evidence isn't the same thing as conclusive proof. Even if men do have higher sex drives than people of other genders, people of other genders can still enjoy sex, want to have sex, and think about sex often. Plus, 2016 research. Trusted source suggests that heterosexual women have more interest in sex than their male partners believe. How to accept sexual feelings. There are certainly times when sexual thoughts can be frustrating or distracting. More on how to handle this later. But it's important to accept them for what they are, a normal part of the human experience for many people. Increase your exposure. Reading books or watching TV shows and movies featuring characters who have similar sexual desires to yours may help you feel a bit more comfortable. It's not always easy to find content like this, but positive media portrayals of sexually empowered women and queer people are increasing. Talk about your feelings. It can feel a little awkward to talk about sex, especially if you're still adjusting to your sexuality. It's not uncommon to completely avoid conversations about sexuality, horniness, and related topics, even with a sexual partner. You should never feel forced to have conversations about sex. Talking to people you trust can be eye-opening, though, as you might find they have similar feelings, and maybe worry about the same things. Before you talk to your partner or someone else, it may help to jot down some notes or review what you want to say. For example, if you're going to talk to a partner, write down the kinds of sexual activity you think about and might want to try. Try masturbation. If you grew up thinking masturbation was sinful or didn't hear much about it one way or the other, you probably never learned masturbation is both normal and healthy. This could leave you with some feelings of shame or confusion around getting off. Gender-specific terms for genitals can also complicate masturbation for some transgender or non-binary people if they feel somewhat disconnected from body parts that don't match their gender identity. Masturbation can have a lot of benefits, though, beyond sexual release. It can help you get more comfortable with your body and learn more about how you like to be touched. Not sure where to start? Check out this guide if you have a penis, and this one if you have a vagina. Tips for bringing your focus back if sexual thoughts are making it hard to concentrate on the task at hand. These strategies can help you redirect your mind. Set the thoughts aside for later. When horny thoughts come up, acknowledge them briefly and then mentally set them aside. This doesn't mean you reject or suppress the thought, which can lead to feelings of guilt or shame later on. By accepting the thought and committing to exploring it later, you're validating that thought as well as your needs. This can help it fade into the background and allow you to return your attention to the task at hand. Take a short break if you've studied a little too long or spent more time on a repetitive work task than you intended. Your thoughts may start to wander. Interrupt fatigue and boredom by giving yourself a brief break. Get a drink, have a snack, take a walk, or try all three. Taking care of physical needs can have a positive impact on emotional mindset. Even briefly changing your environment may help you reset your thoughts and get them back on track. Get it out of your system. Can't stop thinking about what your partner did last night? Fantasizing about what you want to try next time. This strategy can distract you in the moment and help foster deeper connection with your partner later, especially if you've written down something you haven't felt bold enough to say in person. Just avoid the sexting, which will probably leave you constantly checking your phone for replies. Put on some music if you're driving, trying to complete a report, or doing something else that needs your full attention. Music can be a good way to quiet distracting thoughts. When to get help. Sometimes, unwanted sexual thoughts or desires may be a sign of something worth exploring with a therapist that specializes in human sexuality. You feel shame or guilt. It's totally normal for people who grew up in sexually restrictive religions or cultures to need some extra help accepting their feelings. Even if you didn't grow up this way, you might still have some lingering shame. A therapist can help you learn more about healthy sexuality and behavior, explore ways to get in touch with your sexuality, work through any suppressed desires affecting your romantic relationships you can't control. Your thoughts. Do you ever carry specific actions or rituals to help you get rid of an unwanted sexual thought? This can be a sign of obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. If you have OCD symptoms, it's important to talk to a therapist who can help you explore treatments. Therapy can also help you cope with intrusive thoughts, which can happen with OCD. They may involve disturbing sexual images that don't cause horniness, including illegal or harmful sexual practices. Having these thoughts doesn't mean you're bad or that you lacked on them, but they can still be deeply upsetting. In some cases, difficulty managing horniness or spending more time masturbating and having sex than you want to can be symptoms of hypersexuality or compulsive sexual behavior. If you notice these signs, talking to a compassionate therapist can be a good start. The bottom line: your mind is your own personal space, and it's normal for sexual thoughts to pass through on occasion, or even regularly. You don't necessarily have to get rid of these thoughts. If they don't negatively affect what you're doing, distract you in a dangerous way, or cause you or anyone else distress, there's no need to feel concerned about feeling horny. Crystal Rapole has previously worked as a writer and editor for Good Therapy. Her fields of interest include Asian languages and literature, Japanese translation, cooking, natural sciences, sex positivity, and mental health. In particular, she's committed to helping decrease stigma around mental health issues.